Before we start, I want to give a shout out to my guy, Chris Pinette. The whole playoffs, my guy was going against this team. The whole playoffs, he was betting against them because of this young, inconsistent talent. And he was finally correct.
Finally, only took 4 rounds.
Only took 4 rounds, but we're here. We're not counting the rounds, but we're here.
All right.
Faded Steph and faded the city of Boston in general.
We did.
The city
we
of
don't like Boston. We're not Boston fans over here.
No, sir.
Bruins, get them out of here. Only fans
It is-
is Patriots. That's about it.
It's definitely been a busy week after the finals, though, and we're gonna get into it. Obviously, we're gonna talk about the draft, which is Thursday. We're recording Monday, and there's so much stuff going on the Twitter timeline right now in NBA Twitter. It's nuts. There's already been 2 trades, one of actual importance, and of course, we're gonna talk about the NBA Finals recap. But before we do that, boys, how you doing today? It's a little rainy where I am, but I don't know if it's good weather where you guys are. I wanted to hoop today, but I can't.
It's looking a little overcasty over here, but so rain's probably making its way this way, but that don't really matter. Got work in a bit, so I'm not even gonna really get to enjoy this weather. Yeah, other than that, not doing too bad.
Steve, you're right in the middle. How's the weather for you, man? You gonna be able to hoop today, or is it gonna rain you out? Or you're an indoor hooper, anyways.
Yeah, I like indoor hooping.
Yeah.
I used to, I played way too much on the outdoors, so I'm kind of jaded with that. Now I enjoy the indoors. I used to, those videos that you see of people shooting in the rain and snow, that used to be me.
Mm-hmm.
I used to go out there with a shovel the court, and play basketball out there. I was a crazy person.
That's that dedication. That's that Mamba mentality.
The hoop
That
dreams.
Kobe Bryant mentality. Yeah. But speaking about Mamba mentality, this guy's getting clowned a lot, for sending the text to Kobe. And, before we kind of get into the breakdown, I will just say, man, this kid's 24 years old. I mean, he's like Durant, or not Durant, like Draymond Green said to him. He said to Grant Williams, "You'll be back. 100%. This team will be back, young core." I just don't think that. Listen, you're going up against an experienced team, a dynasty. We'll talk about dynasties as well. You look at a team that's gone to the finals 6 times in the last 8 years and won 4 of those 6 times. Pretty impressive. So, Siavash, what was your recap on this finals? The Boston Celtics versus the Golden State Warriors. Steph Curry getting his 4th ring and his finals MVP that he's been chasing. Break it down for us.
I think, this was one of the more interesting finals that we've seen. A lot of people have made the comparison, this finals to the 2012 finals with the young OKC team going against the Miami Heat with Braun, D-Wade, and Bosh. And, I like that comparison. I think that is very fitting because this team was definitely a team that we did not see making it to the finals. And of course, some things went right for them to get there, and they could have definitely won this, but that young talent, not having that experience, not having maybe some of the right pieces around them. And, I think Tatum, from what I heard, played the most minutes, or the second most minutes by a person or a player under 25 ever in the finals.
Yeah.
So a lot of things went wrong for them in the finals, but again, I think the future is bright. And for the Warriors to win another one, this time, of course, without KD, is, sparked some interesting conversations.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you mentioned Jason Tatum. I've got a little Tatum playoff crazy run for him up here. 1st in points, 1st in assists, Eastern Conference MVP, youngest to ever get 600, 100, and 100 in the playoffs. Beat KD, Giannis, and Jimmy on his way to the finals. Dropped 46 down 3-2 at the Bucks. Dropped 13 assists in his finals debut and won 2 Game 7. So there is obviously a missing thing that he wanted in this run. But again, at 24 years old, I think he's got to hold his head high. There's things you need to improve on. Maybe, slight adjustments that you need to make in your game. But I toss it over to you, Chris. There was your guy, his comparison when LeBron went to the finals for the Cavs. very similar
Mhm.
situation. I would say the Boston team's a lot better than the Cavs team that LeBron was playing with, but very similar situation, right? A young guy that really kind of carried everything. When it gets down to it, going to 2 Game 7, Steve Ash, I think you had mentioned it when we were talking about our finals predictions. Like that's gonna wear you down, bro. Like that's gonna tire you out, and I think we saw that in the finals. But there's, in my opinion, there's some slight things that he needs to adjust for his game going forward. But he'll be back. Chris, go ahead.
Oh, yeah, like you guys both said, this is a young team, so they're gonna be together for a while, so long as upper management doesn't decide to break these guys up, so they could definitely get back there. And yeah, those like long Game 7s definitely do have an effect on Tatum there, and also too, definitely him catching some flack because it is supposed to be like this guy's teams, all eyes are kind of on him, and it kind of sucks, like when he doesn't show up, the team kind of goes down in flames. Like that last game, what did he have? Like 16 points, 17 points?
13, I think.
13,
Yeah, like something like terrible like that, which is like, yeah, it's tough. And those things are only, what's the word? Like magnified when you are that guy. So
yeah.
Feel bad for the guy, he's catching flack, but like you said, like he had like an impressive like resume throughout like the finals run. Of course, like I didn't really see like many of those stats going out, of course, so everyone's like quick to comment, oh, he's first player to have 100 turnovers in the finals,
of course,
whole season.
It's easier to highlight the negatives, right?
Exactly, yeah. So, but you can see Jaylen Brown steady performance. Actually, Jaylen Brown had like great performances throughout the entire finals. It's just, maybe it's the curse of that text.
He did have good performances, but there was a game I think it was Game 5, when people thought Jaylen Brown was going to be that guy. There was talks about Jaylen Brown possibly at Boston 1, possibly winning the finals MVP. And Jaylen Brown in Game 5, I don't know whether the ball was greased or his hands were greased. It looks like he was giving up the most turnovers in that game. It was brutal. But Siavash, I saw you grinning over there when Chris was making a few comments at the start of his kind of tail of the tape. You want to go on what you're
a few things there. First thing, I saw a few pictures of Kobe texting back Jason Tatum, telling him to delete my number. Yeah. Those are great. We always love to see it. Secondly, at the start, Chris kind of mentioned if this front office was to break him up. And the first thing that came to my mind was how much we were discussing that in the middle of the season, and how I was one of the front runners. I was saying, hey, get Jaylen Brown out of here. Get Ben Simmons in there. They need him. This is going to be a team that's going to need that guy. And at this time, I think that's very laughable. It's just that perspective. At that time, I think most of us would have made that move, maybe a better move, but now you just wouldn't want to break these guys off.
No, yeah. You can see that there's definitely, again, I feel, and apologies, but I feel like the LeBron fans that are like, he's 37, but like, I'm just laughing. I'm like, he's 24. Like, I mean, there's so much criticism going to go around him. I mentioned that there's some things he needs to change in his game. I just think he pounds the ball too much. I think he holds on to it too much. He needs to, kind of maybe adapt that Golden State mentality, move the ball a bit more. He stands up there and does a lot of ISO, and it's like ISO ball is not really the way of the game anymore. So again, slight changes. I think again, he's 24. Like, they'll be back. It's a young core, so I'm excited to see them for sure. But they definitely have experienced, quite a bit of turmoil over the past 4 or 5 years, right? They had Isaiah Thomas. Unfortunately lost his sister. Then they made him go out there and fuck up his Achilles or something like that. He screwed up his Achilles. They trade him to Cleveland. They get Kyrie. Kyrie is his own entity as it is. There's situations there. He's going to stay in Boston. No, he's not going to stay in Boston. He wants to leave and go to Brooklyn. Okay, he goes to Brooklyn. Boston doesn't make it, or they just missed last year. I forget what happened last year. They didn't live up to expectations. Middle of the season this year, they were like a 12th seed in the East. I was calling for their them to break up, and they ended up making the NBA Finals. So they've definitely had a roller coaster of the past 5 years. But We'll move on from that NBA Finals. We will get into the draft, but I just mentioned this guy's name, and Siavash, I'm gonna let you start because this is your guy. This is your guy. You're one of your favorite players in the league. It's Monday afternoon in the middle of June. The NBA Finals is done and the draft is just underway. But now we're starting to hear that that trade rumor, that trade mill start to turn its wheels, turn its ugly head, and once again the man in the middle, Kyrie Irving. Tell us what's going on with Kyrie, Siavash.
I like that little monologue. He called him the man in the middle. I thought you were going to say the man on fire or something like that. But my guy, Kyrie, well, we've heard this the past few weeks that there has been some issues with the negotiation between Kyrie and the Brooklyn Nets. The Nets, of course, are not interested in the liability that he can be for this team. But at the same time, as I spoke about it, it will be idiotic for them to not give in to Kyrie because Kyrie is not just one player. You're getting a 2-for-1. You're getting KD and Kyrie by having Kyrie on the team. So now Kyrie is an upcoming free agent. There were reports this earlier today from Shams that the Nets are going to go into this, not being too sure. And then Kyrie put out a meme of somebody laughing, giggling. And that has sparked so many rumors since this morning. Of course, the big one being Kyrie going to the Lakers, doing a swap with Russ and Kyrie and LeBron playing together, and Russ and KD playing together again, and then
if that happens, Durant's already gone. If the Nets make a trade to get Russell Westbrook and let me guess the package: Russell Westbrook, THD, and a 2027 first, the same thing that they've offered everybody else in the league. Durant will say, "Let me leave," and if they say no because you're under contract, he will go play for the Shanghai Sharks. He will not be playing in the NBA. Like, there's no way. He's not going to stay there. Russell Westbrook, 2022, Russell Westbrook comes to play for the Nets? No.
Well, that's where, again, it's all hilarious. But there are some interesting topics that are going out about this. Most importantly, the Clippers might wanting to be a front runner in this.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
Talk about it,
Clippers and the Knicks.
I'm not. I would like him to be with the Knicks. I think that would be better.
I would
Listen. This is why I don't want to be with the Clippers. What have I talked about before being the best ability in anything in life, but in basketball? What's the best ability? Availability. Listen, I'll be point blank honest with you. Kawhi Leonard, love him to death. Just because of load management and injury history, doesn't have the best availability. Paul George, I think, has better availability, but again, we've seen injury concerns with him. Now, why am I going to bring in a third star that has nothing to do with injury, but just has, again, to do with availability, and sometimes a desire to win or a desire to play? It's just concerning to me. Depending on what we give up to get him, then I would entertain it. If it's like Luke Kennard, Marcus Morris, and a couple firsts, okay, sure, like I would take that on. I think that's a great trade. Really, I think you're only giving up the first. Mook's kind of been on the way out, and Luke Kennard, really, because the Clippers are so deep, he hasn't really been getting the minutes. And the big interesting thing for me, the main reason why I would entertain it, is because if any coach in the league could take on Kyrie Irving, I'm gonna go with the coach that won him a title. Tyronn. I wonder, I like him in the Knicks organization, but I wonder how the fuck do you think Tom Thibodeau and Kyrie Irving would do in the same locker room? Are you kidding me?
That's hilarious, actually.
Oh, we're gonna run our own practices. Tom's gonna say, "The fuck you are? You're gonna come when I tell you to come. You're not practicing when you want to come. This is a team game. This is a team sport. You're gonna practice with the team."
Well, this is what I was just gonna say. Chris, where do you think KD is going to end up if Kyrie is not on the Nets at the start of next season?
I'll
probably
take
Golden
KD.
State again.
We'll take KD to the Clippers.
Chris said back to Golden State.
Back to Golden State. He said, "Hey, get my jersey back down from the rafters. I'm coming back. I'm coming."
Ring chasing.
Says, makes a home thing. I'm coming home, guys. But honestly, I don't know where KD would end up, because really KD would just kind of have his pick of the litter. But I'm assuming any team would be glad to have KD. And I don't think KD's like a hard player to fit into like any kind of rotation. KD could probably seamlessly fit any rotation and be fine.
Do you have any people in mind, Steve Ash? Because I have one or two. Not really good reasoning, but I'd like to hear if you have a team or two in mind.
Yeah, because like where would you see like KD landing? Because I honestly I don't see KD not being successful wherever he goes.
Yeah, and I don't think that's the issue here. The biggest issue here is the fact that he's on the contract. He just signed the max contract, and the issue here would be where the Nets want to go. Now, again, we can see another Ben Simmons situation, and seeing that the Nets not wanting to trade him, of course, rightfully so, because where are you going to go without KD, one of the top players in the league, on your team, right? You look at the Rockets. Just a few seasons ago, they traded James Harden for a bag of chips, and right now they're nothing. I mean, they got a good pick and they're rebuilding, but from where they were, now they're just nowhere. So saying all that,
go ahead.
I was just gonna say, saying all that, I was just gonna say that if there is a team that is going to be able to provide a package that I think would be looking decent for the Nets, I really think the Suns would be the one up.
Oh, come on. You've been on Suns Reddit too much. Fuck. Puke, bro. I've seen trades where they give up Landry Shamet, Jay Crowder, and one other like role player for KD. I'm like, are you fucked? Are you that delusional?
Aiden have to be part of it. DeAndre Aiden would have to be part of it.
That's fair. The two teams that I thought of, and again, like I said, while you were speaking, I thought of a third team. Now this is the front runner. If Kyrie was to go, assuming KD wants out, this would be the one team, but I'm going to get to the two teams that I already thought of before. First team, again, really no other reasoning besides that's where he's from, is the Washington Wizards. There's really no explanation as to why. I would just say, you want to talk about him going home, Chris? That's where he's from. Go back to Washington. The second team would be, I'm not even kidding, would be the Los Angeles Clippers. Before that summer that they went to Brooklyn and Kawhi and Paul George came to LA, Kawhi called KD first. And was like, hey, let's go to LA, and KD said, no, I'm going with Kai to Brooklyn. Again, not as good of a package as this third team I just thought of. This team has fucking built up 80,000 first round picks over the next 2-3 years. They've got some young guys. KD played for this team, was drafted. If you can hold on to Shea, if you can hold on to one of your top picks this year, maybe OKC sniffs around, because I bet you OKC could give them the best package in terms of future and building for the future. If Kyrie is gone and they're like, fuck, now we got to get rid of KD, there's no point in trying to contend and trying to get all these minuscule depth pieces to try to compete in the East. Just say, all right, fuck it. Give us picks and let us try this out. Maybe that's it. I don't know. I literally just thought about that now, but is there a team that could give a better package than OKC? Like, I know you're saying the Suns, but okay, you get DeAndre Ayton. DeAndre Ayton and what? What do you got in the East? That's it?
Listen, man. Ben Simmons
a 7-foot big. Yeah, great. Two guys that can't shoot the three.
That looks good, you know?
Yeah.
Maybe in the 80s. Like in the 1980s, it looked good.
But I don't know. Even if you went back to OKC, they're probably going to burn the city down if this guy comes back. Because when this guy left, like, man, you thought that city was going to implode and martial law would be fucking enacted.
That's true.
It was probably worse than LeBron leaving Cleveland for the first time.
But that's the thing. When LeBron came back, they fucking welcomed him with open arms. Yes, the savior. He comes back with the championship. What if they got Shea? They got KD. Again, you keep one of those top picks. I don't know. You might have to give up that number 2 pick, but probably not actually. If you have 80,000 picks for the next 3 years, if you can hold on to that second overall pick, get Chet or Paolo or Jabari, one of the three. You get KD and you got Shea. You might have to give up Giddey or Dort or some of those. You got Poku. Like, they got a lot of good young players. And what have we been saying? This team, sure, yeah, it looks. Oh, they got a lot of pieces in that that Paul George and Kawhi trade, sure. But you got all these pieces and all these guys that are the same age to do nothing. You got a fucking 16-man roster. Most teams put out 12. You got 16 guys playing for 14 minutes a game. It makes no sense. So I don't know. Maybe it's Sam Presti that's there, right, Sebash?
Yes, sir. And you know
Maybe
what's
this
crazy?
is when he strikes.
This is something I'm actually so mad that you came up with it. And not myself. Not that I'm, no jealousy. It's just that I'm mad that I didn't come up with it. This is like very similar to the LeBron situation back to Cleveland. The only difference here is LeBron signed there. So when he did, they had all these young guys. They had a young point guard with promising skill in Kyrie. They had some decent pieces on the roster. And they had these picks. So now, and they had the number one pick that season. And they had the number one pick from the season before in Anthony Bennett. So then they were able to sign LeBron, then trade those guys for Kevin Love. The difference here is, and I was thinking about the coaching as well. I'm like, look, OKC doesn't have the best coach right now, but I'm sure.
Yeah, who is their coach?
I don't even know his name. So I'm sure, similar to Cleveland, they will fire that coach and get David Blatt in there. Somebody like David Blatt, somebody who's a respected coach, and go from there. But again, the issue here is KD's on the contract. The Nets are going to ask for a haul to trade him. So that number 2 pick and at least 5 picks and a promising young player is going to have to be in there.
Yeah. Again, I'm just trying to think. I don't think any other team, if we're talking about the future, because at that point, if you're getting rid of your 2 superstar players, you're just building for the future at that point. Keep Ben Simmons because he would fit sort of that mode. You can get Giddey and fucking give him 8 picks, man. Like, they have that. Like, I don't have their draft picks up in front of me, but I think they have like 4 picks in the first round, 3 picks in the first round this year. I think they have another one in the lottery. Like, you know what I mean? So they've definitely got some picks that they can toss around for sure. What else is going on in terms of trades in the timeline?
Well, there are some names going around. Malcolm Brogdon and Miles Turner are back in the trade rumors. Miles Turner has been the trade rumors since 2017. So if you think this is a repeat news, it is not. We're still talking about it in 2022. Those guys.
I think Chris has got the picks.
I literally just Googled them to say, well, how many picks does OKC have right now? And they have 38 picks over the next few draft years. 19 first round picks and 19 second round picks. So, bro, they have picks. They can trade. Here's
Giddey and 10 first round picks. Like, bro, so you know what I mean? Like,
actually insane.
And they have the cap room. They have the cap room to take on KD.
You know what? They also have the cap room to take on James Harden.
That's true. Wow.
Let's see it.
And they could get Russell Westbrook.
Let's see it. That's what I'm here for.
Yeah, and they have 3 first overall picks in this draft too. So.
Yeah, where are their other 2, Chris? One's in the lottery, I believe. Yeah, one's the Clippers, so one's like 13th.
In franchise, so it says like 2 of those selections, and number 2 and then number 12. I have to actually open the article to see like where the third one is. So it's probably lower than 12. Yeah, but so it's just still good.
You give 12, the whatever one's in the 20th, and then you give like 4 or 5 other picks over the next couple years. That's 7 picks, and then throw in Josh Giddey. I would hold on to Giddey if you could, but I mean, that's fine. Here you go.
It's a 30th
to get
pick,
KD.
Okay.
Yeah.
30th pick.
I don't know. It's interesting.
That's fascinating.
Okay. So you said Brogdon and Turner. Yeah. Any news on where they're going?
Nothing there. This is, again, these are just, they're being aggressive, but this is the one I wanted to talk about. Is the Miami Heat saying that they're open to trading everybody that is not named Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo. And we talked about, I don't know if we talked about it last week, but we were talking about it before. I want to see them making a trade for Donovan Mitchell or Bradley Beal.
Yeah, interesting.
I think
Donovan Mitchell's a more likely candidate.
Yeah, because I think that it's Tyler Hero's a contract year too, so they can do a sign and trade with him, throw in some of the pieces and some draft picks, and I think they can secure somebody like Donovan Mitchell or Bradley Beal and go from there.
Mm-hmm. I would expect Jazz to blow it up. I mean, I don't know when it's going to happen, but I mean, we were just talking about Donovan Mitchell. I'm hearing more, more smoke out of the Toronto Raptors dressing room about OG. So I would assume that Rudy would be in talks there. I've heard Rudy. We've talked about it before. I think Rudy to Chicago. So both you guys could likely end up with Rudy. I think Donovan Mitchell. Oh, that's the thing too. I've read articles where they're not trading Donovan Mitchell. They're looking to move Rudy Gobert, and like I've said, I don't think that's the right decision. I think if you're only going to trade one, trade Donovan. You're going to get the most value back for him, and you're going to get rid of a guy that, in my opinion, honestly, if you're not doing something in terms of Western Conference Finals appearance or NBA Finals appearance, he's going to leave your team within the next 2 or 3 years, whenever his contract's up. Rudy will stay. 100% Rudy will stay. Donovan Mitchell will not. He will not stay. Not saying he's not a loyal guy. I just think he's a big market guy, and Utah is not a big market.
Yeah, I mean, we've heard about New York, Miami. Forgot what other team we heard about, but like these are the teams that he's been rumored to go to since the beginning of his career. Again, nobody, I don't know any star that has stayed in Utah since John Stockton and the guy. Not gonna say his name, but those guys, bro, even them, like they went to Carmelo, went to the Lakers.
Well, I was gonna say
he went to get a ring there, and he still wasn't able to. So I think in case of just a situation there, they just don't have enough right now. And Quinn, he parted away from the team, so they now got to figure out a new coach. I think if you look at
interesting.
What's up?
Go ahead.
Why
I was
is
just
it
gonna
interesting?
say, we were talking about OKC, a coach. Maybe they bring Quinn Snyder in as a coach. I keep that Kevin Durant bubble in the back of my head.
Bro, you got to make a TikTok about that so you got it on record.
You know what? I might.
You should.
Okay, we just mentioned the Knicks. Now I want to know, Chris, what do you think this is a good strategy by the New York Knicks to go out and hire Mr. Brunson, and not Jalen Brunson, but Jalen Brunson's dad, as an assistant coach for the New York Knicks? I don't know if you've heard about that, but Jalen Brunson's dad has been hired by the New York Knicks as an assistant or as an associate coach. And obviously, Jalen Brunson for the Mavericks is, he's entering free agency. He's going to get a bag. He could stay with Dallas, but there's rumors now about him maybe going to New York to play for Pops. What's your thoughts on that? Do you think it's a good strategy by New York?
I don't know. Like, what's let me look at this here. Sorry, I'm just looking at Mr.
Well,
what about you, Sivash? I'll toss it over to you.
This is what we're just going to say. Sorry, Chris, go ahead.
No, what was his name? Rick Brunson?
I think so.
It is? Okay. Ben, go ahead, see. Go ahead.
I was just going to say that this is reminding me of the strategy that the Clippers pulled by hiring Doc Rivers so they can sign Austin Rivers on their team to be able to
a little bit different of the level of player, sure, but I'm following you.
Oh, I couldn't even keep a straight face through that one.
Yeah.
I don't look. If that's their strategy, hey man, the Knicks are more dysfunctional than I imagined them to be. Like, listen, we knew
they're on pace with the Lakers.
Oh, we knew they were more dysfunctional than the Lakers at some point, but for them to try that, it's insane. Like, if that is your goal for Jalen Brunson to be on your team, and then you try to sign his dad, listen, if you're the Knicks, you got to go for bigger fish. I'm not saying go out there and, Photoshop pictures of LeBron, KD, and Curry all on the same team for the Knicks. Don't do that. But at least understand that you are a big market team. Fix it from the inside. Be like the Nets from a few years ago. Make a good cultural team. And then from there, you can welcome these superstars that are looking to sign on the team together, like Kyrie and KD.
Okay, final thing about trades, and then we'll get into the draft, because that is coming up in the next few days. Chris.
Yes, sir.
A couple days ago, speaking of the Dallas Mavericks, they made a trade with the Houston Rockets to get Christian Wood on their team.
Did they?
So now Luka actually has a legitimate big that was better than Kristaps Porzingis was, to play alongside of him. Now, my fear, Christian Wood isn't the best defensive big, but that is a good defensive squad. I just want to know what your thoughts are on Christian Wood staying in the state of Texas, but just moving over from Houston to Dallas.
Honestly, I think I feel like that's a good look because I think one of the things that the Mavericks did lack was somebody else who could consistently go out and score, and
Yep.
because you had players like Brunson, Dinwiddie, and like they'd show flashes, they'd have like great games here and there, but it just wasn't consistent enough to keep up with like Luca and help take some of that scoring load away from like Luca or open up more scoring opportunities for him because they're now having to check these other guys. I think bringing Christian Wood there will again open up the floor more for Luka to potentially score more. Either maybe have more open looks at like the three, and then if if Luka's having a night, that then frees up Christian to go and do his thing too. So I think that'll do well. And like you said, like you might not be the best defensively, but overall, the Mavericks are a great defensive team. So they do say you only as strong as your weakest link, and if Christian just happens to be that link, then I'm sure they'll be able to fortify the defense enough to make up for that.
And they can, and like again, you mentioned the combo of him and Luca. That's a great pick and roll, pick and pop option because he can shoot. He can probably give you 20 and 8.
Yeah,
he can average you that. And I think in terms of defense, I think being in the right system will help him. He went from the Pistons to the Rockets. He was there for like 8 games, and then Harden left. So it was like he didn't really ever. I don't think he's ever been in a market or on a team where he's had a desire to try and win. Whereas with Dallas, like they're, I think with the addition of Christian Wood, they do become I don't want to say a serious contender, but a better contender in the West. Seabash, what are your thoughts?
No, I think you guys both covered up everything I was going to go over. Yeah, again, with Christian Wood, as you mentioned, he doesn't have the best reputation as a guy who's a winner or who's able to put up numbers on his own. But I think next to Luka, I think it's going to be interesting. And again, I'm not a guy who looks at numbers and goes empty calories and all those things.
Yeah.
Every player we've talked about, I think has come out and proved us wrong. When you look at it from Devin Booker, Karl Anthony Towns, Zach LaVine, even latest is that Andrew Wiggins in the finals. All those guys,
that's true.
If they're able to perform on a bad team, they're going to be able to transition that on a good team.
Minus Book, you just mentioned like all Wolves players, former Wolves players.
Oh, the Wolves are a miserable franchise, so yeah, that's true.
Which is funny. I did see a graphic. It was a house, and it was KG's face in the sky. Not Zach LaVine's face. Kevin Love's face in the sky, and Andrew Wiggins' face in the sky, and it was the house the Wolves built. And it was 3 former Wolves that have won championships since leaving. So people were saying, like, can't wait until Zach LaVine is on that. Can't wait until Ant Edwards leaves and he's on the house that the former Wolves built. But yeah, the Wolves are pretty bad. They're
maybe Pat Bev,
Kings. Shout out. He's been calling to go to Miami too, so you never know. Basically, blatantly on ESPN Live. Okay, so that takes care of some trades that are going to happen, some forecasting for what's in the future and for what's already happened. Now, like I mentioned, the draft is on Thursday on the 23rd. I think, we've talked about it briefly. There's 3 main guys. I think it's kind of known who's going to go first overall. However, there are, different options for Orlando at number 1. They've got Chet, Jabari, and Paolo there. I don't think Paolo's going first overall, even though I am a Duke fan. And then, I think after 3, it opens up from 4 to probably about 9 for guys that can move around anywhere in there. So I don't know how much research you guys have done on the draft, but how do you want to talk about the draft here? Do you want to look? You're looking like Kendrick Perkins up there.
Yes, sir.
Do you want to just talk about possible guys that are going to jump up? I'll let you guys take the floor, and I can answer any questions.
Well, this is what I was just going to ask, Chris. If you were, let's say, in the position of OKC, who would you hate to see go first with the Magic?
I think I would hate to see like them to go first before I got to pick them.
Yep.
Probably Chet.
That's what I'm thinking too. I think. Go ahead.
Like I think Chet would work really well over there. Play alongside SGA, Giddy. The three of them could become like a nice little squad out there.
Well, not
And
anymore
Fox.
because Toby's trying
Yeah.
to get KD and James Harden and Russ back there.
That's true.
It's true. Man, and other than that too, they could around those three guys with their off million fucking picks, they could literally do the same thing Golden State did and just build a dynasty, bro. Over like the
That's
next
true.
however many years.
This is what I was gonna say. Again, I haven't done a crazy amount of research, but correct me if I'm wrong. Chet would be the standout in case of skill and just the type of player he is from the other two here. Again, correct me if I'm wrong.
yeah.
If I was to say Jabari and Paolo are more similar to each other than they are to Chet.
Yes, yeah, definitely. Chet's a unicorn. He's he's a legit 7'1" big that dribbles like a guard. I remember watching this kid like on Slam High School Instagram, like when he was 14. Just this, and I had said, I was like, man, this kid's not making a league because he's a twig. Like, and I still am a little concerned about that. He does remind me of like a Kristaps Porzingis. He needs to put on weight. That's his biggest issue.
Reminds
I
me
just
of
don't
KD.
like. KD's the same, yeah. I would
KD's
just,
a
yeah,
twig.
yeah.
But you see how successful KD's been though too. And this guy's
Yeah,
probably
but I see him playing more like KD can, like not saying Chet can't stretch, but I
Yeah.
see Chet playing more in that 4-5 role like a Porzingis than KD playing in that 3-4 role.
Mhm.
It's interesting. I think Jabari is the most well-rounded player of the three. I think Paolo is the best player right now. It's really the pick of the litter of who you want and how he'll fit in your system. Why I think Chet will go number one. Jabari has, or sorry, Vegas odds have Jabari to go first overall. And I think that's because, like you mentioned before, Sivash, I don't think we were recording at this time, but Chet's basically said, Orlando, don't draft me. But Chet going number one overall, he played high school ball with Jalen Suggs. They
Good
didn't
boy.
play together at Gonzaga, but they both went to Gonzaga. They have that connection and that relationship, especially in today's NBA and the league today, and especially in a market like Orlando. Making the players that you have happy is the most important thing. Building relationships and connections. Not saying that Jalen Suggs and Jabari Smith Jr. or Paolo won't be friends, but bringing that connection back together with Suggs and Chet would be interesting because they would already be invested and they know each other. They imagine that pick and roll option with Jalen Suggs and Chet, but I don't know. It'd be interesting. But if you're a bettor, I mean, I wouldn't hate taking Chet at plus 140 to go first overall.
Yeah, the odds are not that bad on that. I think, as you mentioned, the draft does start with the fourth pick with the Sacramento Kings. And I am hoping that they would trade it. But at the same time, they're the Kings. We'll see how they're going to mess it up this time again.
The Kings are interesting. The Kings and Portland are two teams that I'm watching. Portland at 7 as well. They've got the 7th pick.
That's true.
I could see them moving it. The Kings are very interesting because they just made that trade for DeMontis Sabonis. They've got De'Aaron Fox and Davion Mitchell in the backcourt. At 4, who you're looking at projected is Jaden Ivey, who's like a... I don't really like doing comps, but to put it in perspective, he's kind of like a John Morant coming out of Murray State. Not really a good shooter, could develop his shot, but is very like an athletic, aggressive guard. But do you want to draft another guard? Like, you just got rid of Tyrese Halliburton, who was I was screaming about how good he was and how late he went. So you just traded a guard to get a big. Why are you gonna bring in another guard? I would look, if they're not gonna trade it, I would look at getting a 3 in there. I would look at getting Keegan Murray. I like him. He's kind of like funny, actually, a Harrison Barnes type. Harrison Barnes plays for them. But I think their best opportunity is to trade the pick.
Yeah, I was gonna say that because I'm looking at like a couple different things, and it had the Kings either having Jaden Ivey or Keegan going in there, and I was gonna ask which do you think would be better. So you're seeing, like, looking at Keegan, they're showing comparables to, like, Obi and, like, Pascal are players that he plays similar to and whatnot.
Yeah.
And they're saying Keegan looks like he is one of the most, like, NBA ready players, like, in this, like, group.
And he's a guy, like I mentioned, I don't know if I said it off the start before we recorded, he's very similar to your two boys, Patrick Williams and Scotty Barnes, in the sense that at the start of the year, the hype wasn't there. Like, no one really knew who Keegan Murray was, but after the tournament, his name was in a lot of scouts' mouths and whatnot. So, I mean, when did Patrick Williams go?
Number 4.
When did Scotty Barnes go?
Number 4.
Sacramento's got the number 4 pick. I'm not being conspiracy guy, but yeah,
they're gonna mess.
I mean, I don't know. I think the best opportunity is for them to trade it. I mean, Memphis. I just saw a rumor about Memphis being interested in trading up to that pick. What they give up, I don't know. Maybe like Brandon Clark. Probably you're looking at those guys that deserve starting minutes but haven't gotten it. So Brandon Clark, maybe. Tyus Jones, like do a sign and trade with Tyus Jones. I don't know. It'll be up in the air. The Sacramento's are very interesting, and like I said, Portland's also interesting there as well. You want to, do you draft a guy? You got Dame there. Do you want an NBA ready guy to play with Dame, or do you want to surround Dame with younger talent? Depends on who you're getting at 7. So I don't know. It'll be interesting.
That's
for sure. Okay. Right before we wrap it up, let's go back to what we were talking about at the start with the NBA Finals, and the legacy of Steph Curry and the Golden State Warriors. Steve Ash, you brought this up at the start about talking about dynasties. Over, probably the history of the NBA, we've seen the Jordan Bulls, the Bird Celtics, Magic's Lakers, Kobe and Shaq's Lakers. I would say Miami Heat, LeBron and D Wade. The Spurs. You grand, I don't know if you agree with that one, but go ahead, take the floor. Talk about legacies and dynasties in the NBA. What do you think that this is a dynasty, or are you against this being a dynasty?
Listen, it's been a lot of talks going on. Some people like Bill Simmons. I said Ben Simmons. Bill Simmons have said that this is not a dynasty because of it's been a short run, whatever. I
think he's a little jaded.
For sure. Listen, I think a prime example of a dynasty is the 1960s Celtics. It's the 1980s Lakers. And I think, of course, the San Antonio Spurs in the 2000s. For me, the definition of a dynasty is a team that keeps a core, that is competing for over 6 to 8 years, and is able to win. Now, you talk about, like, for example, I think the OKC Thunder, they were winning for about 6 years straight, but they were not able to get a title. So I'm not going to call that a dynasty. The Miami Heat, I agree at that because they won 2. They had a good run. They went to the finals 4 years. I think they had a great run. But I would not call them a dynasty.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. No, Jordan Bulls, you omitted them.
Absolutely.
Because they are?
They are. Because they were winning for 8 years. They won 6 championships and going to the finals. And again, they kept their core. They had Jordan, the coach, Phil Jackson, and Scottie Pippen.
Yeah. Now, what about like Showtime Lakers, like Magic's Lakers,
Absolutely.
or even Isaiah Thomas's Pistons?
I wouldn't call that a dynasty because I think they were only competing for about 5-6 years and they won 2. I don't know if that's a dynasty. This is where I will say the Golden State Warriors are absolutely a dynasty. They have been winning for the past 10 years. They have been on top of the league. For 2 years, for sure, they weren't there, but that was because of injuries. They came back the year everybody was healthy and they won it again. I think, they kept the same core. Steph, Clay, Draymond. They have the same coach, Steve Kerr. And they have won 4 in the past 10 years. That's just unprecedented. Like, what other team can you... Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, the Patriots, for example. How many rings did they win altogether with Tom Brady?
They won 6 with Tom Brady.
I think it was 6, yeah. And how many years were they competing? From the start of 2000s to like 2017, was it? The last time they won?
I think they won their first in either 04 or 05.
No, I swear it was
but
early.
they-
That was
Maybe
like,
okay, yeah. I mean, sorry. I mean, like because they had a year where they won it, and then there was a gap in between. But if you look, the better
They won in 02.
conversation, the better conversation is around Tom Brady. Because if you look at it, it's been every other year, I think, over the past like maybe 8 years, Tom Brady has won a championship. Pull that up. Pull up the NFL champions over the past like 10 years or whatever. I'm pretty sure over the past 8 years, it's been Patriots, Eagles, Patriots, Bucks, or I forget what the team was, Kansas City. But like, I think that's the better conversation, because that's where the Spurs, yes, is a dynasty, but when I was looking at their team, it was like they had a big gap. They won in what? The 99 season. They won the year after Jordan. They won in 05, and then they won like 2.
So, yeah, they
Right?
won in the 90s. They won in 2005, and then they won in 2008. And they won, I'm missing one, but they won in 2013 as well.
13.
So they might have won
I think
2
they won
in early 2000s.
I think they won back to back.
Maybe.
Yeah. But that's what I wondered, because when it's so spread out, I'm like, yes, they kept the same core, but they didn't win consecutively. You know what I mean? Like, for the fact that the Warriors won, what was it, 3 in 4 years or something like that? Like that right there, in my opinion, is a dynasty. Like the fact that you took 4 years and you won 3 of the championships, like Michael, like with the Bulls, 3, 2 years off, 3, dynasty, Magic, 5 in like 8 years or something like that. Like that's impressive, bro. Like that's a dynasty for sure.
And you were correct about the Patriots and Tom Brady. They basically won every other year since 2014.
Yeah,
Tom Brady,
like, that's
technically.
fucked. Yeah, that's fucked. That's why I put a bet on the Bucks to win the Super Bowl this year, because last year they didn't win it. So I mean, I'm just going off
Trends
pattern, but yeah, I just don't see why Bill Simmons or other Twitter heroes would say that it's not a dynasty, other than the fact that they're just salty.
No, for sure.
You agree, Steve or Chris, that it's a dynasty?
Yeah, no, 100%. I agree that like you can't look at what Golden State has done as a squad and with your chest say they're not a dynasty. Mm-hmm. Like if you take literally go to any other like sport franchise and you make them the exact same way as like Golden State was, have them win at the exact same rate, that team will instantly become a dynasty. Instantly.
Yeah.
Doesn't really matter who
100%.
it is.
100%.
So.
Okay, so that was the last topic of conversation here. Now, again, next time we record, next Monday, the draft will have happened. Free agency will be gearing up, and I guarantee you there's been a trade or two. So I have one question to ask both of you before we wrap this up. Chris, give me a prediction. I want to hear one trade that you think is going to happen by the time we're recording next.
We're recording next?
Anything. Yeah.
I don't think Kyrie's with Boston. I think
with Brooklyn.
With Brooklyn, sorry, yeah. I think he's gone.
Yeah.
I think so.
I think team.
I don't have a team, but just because, like, again, reading some of these things, it doesn't look like. I don't think it'll be the Lakers. I don't think they have like the cap space kind of thing. They'd have to get rid of Westbrook, and if they got rid of Westbrook, he's got like a huge contract, so that'll be really hard to like. Yeah, and that'll be hard to ship off too, because you're getting
47 million.
Actually. Yeah, something
Jesus.
Crazy, but
fire up Blanco like yes.
You know what? Okay, I'm not gonna say he's gonna be traded to a team, but I think by next week there will be confirmed talks that Kyrie is not returning to the Nets. That'll be confirmed.
That's good.
He will be
I like that.
He's on his way out. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Steve Ash, what about you? One trade, one move that is going to happen by the next time we record.
I think Portland is going to make some move that we're all going to be questioning why Dame is still playing there.
Interesting. Do you think it's going to revolve around that 7th overall pick, or just
It could.
something in general?
It could not.
Yeah.
I just think we're gonna see Portland do some dumb shit, and we're gonna say, "Why are you still there, day?"
My prediction will be that one of those boys in Utah will be gone by the next time we
Okay.
I think for sure. I think unfortunately it'll likely be Rudy, but my opinion is that should be Donovan. But I think by the next time we record, one of those boys will be gone.
Okay.
I have
All
had
right,
to pee
so
for
that
the past 20 minutes, so let's finish it off.
Okay. That was another episode of the Lob It Up Podcast. So let's see Vash go pee, and we'll catch you in the next one. Peace.
Deuces.